My name is Sophia Martinez. I'm 32 years old, and I spent 8 years building something brilliant, only to watch the wrong person take credit for it. I came to TechVision Solutions when I was 24, with a fresh engineering degree, an optimism that quickly disappeared. I was assigned to the infrastructure team, where all the actual engineering work happened. I was good at my job, probably the best on the team, but invisible. Good work doesn't speak for itself unless someone important is doing the speaking. I spent my first 3 years on incremental improvements, but then I hit a bottleneck I couldn't solve using traditional methods. So I started thinking differently. Instead of improving the existing system, I reimagined how data transfer could work entirely. I spent a year developing the theory, 3 months on the proof of concept, 6 months building a working prototype. I called it the Martinez Transfer Protocol. It reduced latency by 90%, increased throughput by 400%, and was the kind of innovation that could change the entire industry. I brought it to my manager, Richard, expecting validation. He took it straight to David Chen, our CEO. David seemed to understand the technology, asked smart questions, and told me it was some of the best engineering he'd ever seen. He said it could change the company. I left that meeting thinking my life was about to change. I thought I'd finally done something significant enough that I wouldn't be invisible anymore. I was naive. I was 29 and didn't understand how professional credit actually gets allocated, especially for women in tech. 3 weeks later, I overheard board members in the cafeteria talking about David's breakthrough innovation. His breakthrough: I pulled up the patent filing system. The Martinez Transfer Protocol was listed with David Chen as the inventor and me as the co-inventor. In patent law, those distinctions matter enormously. Primary inventors have rights. Co-inventors have acknowledgement. I felt violated. A labor lawyer explained that fighting this would be expensive, would take years, and would probably cost me my job. So I had a choice: fight and lose everything, or swallow it and move on, or I could do something different. I couldn't fight David from inside TechVision, but I could leave and build something better outside the system. I called a friend from grad school, Priya, who was a brilliant engineer and equally frustrated with her own job. I pitched her the idea: what if we started our own company and built a product that was better than what TechVision had? She said yes within 6 hours. We set up Meridian Systems, and I left TechVision without signing their non-compete agreement. 2 days after I left, I filed my own patent for an improved version of the Martinez Transfer Protocol. The first 3 months were the hardest. Priya and I worked from my apartment, lived on savings, borrowed computing power from friends. We worked 18-hour days because that was what it took. But we had something TechVision didn't: a product that was genuinely better. David had implemented the original protocol quickly, but he didn't understand it deeply enough to address the edge cases and flaws that I'd documented. By month 6, we had our first customer. By year 2, we had over 100 customers and had raised our first round of venture capital funding. While Meridian grew, TechVision was falling apart. The bugs in David's implementation started manifesting. Customers experienced latency issues, data loss, security vulnerabilities. TechVision started losing market share to Meridian, and they didn't understand why. By the 2-year mark, they'd lost almost 40% of their customer base. The board demanded answers. Then one board member became suspicious about David's claims of inventorship and ordered a forensic audit of the company's intellectual property. The auditors found what I already knew. I'd done the majority of the work on the Martinez Transfer Protocol. David had taken my innovation, filed the patent in a way that erased me, and then implemented it incorrectly. The board investigated further and discovered the full extent of the fraud. They suspended David as CEO pending the investigation. David eventually resigned rather than be fired, accepting a settlement that required him to acknowledge responsibility for mishandling the intellectual property. The board reached out to me and offered settlements, public statements acknowledging my inventorship, and even a position back at TechVision. I declined. I told them I wanted a public statement acknowledging that David had committed intellectual property theft, that I was the inventor of the Martinez Transfer Protocol, and that because David failed to implement it correctly, TechVision lost market position to Meridian Systems. The board agreed. They issued the statement and announced that Meridian would be their technology partner going forward. What this meant was that TechVision would eventually be acquired by Meridian Systems. It took 2 years of negotiations, but by the time we completed the acquisition, Meridian was already a 500-person company, doing $300 million in annual revenue. We had offices in 5 countries. We had products that were the industry standard. We had employees who understood that their innovations were credited to them, that their work was valued. Within 10 years, Meridian Systems was valued at $20 billion and went public. I became CEO officially after the IPO. I implemented an open IP policy where engineers owned their inventions. I made sure promotions were based on actual contribution, not on who knew how to take credit. I built an environment where women in tech weren't invisible, where innovation was celebrated. We became known as one of the best companies to work for in tech, the alternative to companies like TechVision that had stolen from their own people. If you've had your work stolen, if you've been erased from something you created, if you've watched someone take credit for your innovation, there is a path forward. It's not fighting the system from inside it. It's building something better outside of it. Build something where the work matters. Build something where people feel valued. Build something where the person doing the actual work is the person making the decisions about what happens next. That's what I did. That's what changed my life. Stewart to She finally spoke for more stories about women who didn't accept erasure, who fought back, who built the lives they actually deserved.